Hi, I'm Mike Davis, and this is So Easy, a Kid Can Do It. The show where Baltimore County high school students give you simple home improvement tips that are so easy, a kid can do it. Today, we're at the George Washington Carver Center for Arts and Technology, where students in the carpentry program learn valuable skills in woodworking, set design, and the construction industries.
Mike, good to see you.
Hi Mike, good to see you. How are you?
All right, good. Who do we have with us today?
Today we have Alex and Devin, two senior carpentry students, and they're going to hang a door.
Excellent. So what is so special about this door versus a regular door?
This door is a split jam door. The regular doors are exterior doors, and they're usually wider and taller.
I see you've got a bunch of tools right here. What do we need to hang a split jam door?
Well, for this particular project, you're going to need a tape measure, a hammer, a framing square, a 4-foot level, and a 2-foot level.
All right, excellent. So we are all set to go. We got our tools. We have our door. What is the first step to get this door in place?
First step is to take measurements.
Now, what are we going to be measuring and why?
Well, when determining the rough opening of the door, you want the rough opening 2 inches wider and 2 inches taller.
Okay, let's go ahead and get the measurement.
This is 24.
So that should be what, 26?
Yeah, this should be 26 up top and down bottom.
Okay, we have our measurements. What is the next step?
You want to make sure the top piece and the side piece are actually level. So you want to go ahead and make sure this is horizontal level.
Looks good.
And you want to make sure the side is level.
Excellent. Now I notice you have a framing square back there. What is that used for?
That's used for making sure this top piece and the side piece are square to each other.
And why is that important?
So when you open and close the door, there will be no friction and cause any later problems later on down the road.
All right, so all your measurements are done, your levels are done, your square is done. What do we do now?
You actually want to go ahead and place the door in the rough opening.
Okay, let's do it.
And when doing this, you want to make sure everything is lined up correctly.
Okay.
Make sure all your measurements.
And you got to remember that these doors are very flimsy until they're attached together, framed in, shimmed, and nailed properly. And also, this door, this 24-inch door, has a 90-degree angle at the top, and it can be used for a framing square, so you can align your reveal all the way through.
All right, looks good. So, door looks perfect to me. Can we walk away at this point, or do we have to do some more work?
You actually want to make sure that this is square all the way across. So you just want to go ahead and press up on this side of the door, the hinge side. Go ahead and press
You
up.
only do that if the door's out of line. This door actually appears to be quite aligned right now, so we're going to make sure the reveal is equal at the top and down the side.
Now, when you say reveal, what are you talking about?
The reveal is actually the distance between the door and the door jamb. The door jamb is the wood that holds the door to the hinges.
Okay, so you're talking about the gap.
The gap
Okay,
in
there
the
you
door.
go, the gap in the door. And that's all for looks,
That's
correct?
all for looks. But if the gap's too small, when the door swells, it'll actually stick. So we have to make sure that the gap in the door is about 1/8 to 1/4 of an inch all the way around, whatever the manufacturer said. For this one, it appears to be what, about 1/4 of an inch, Devin?
Yeah.
All right, guys, the door is in, it looks great. What is our next step?
Next step is to actually place nails in here. You want an 8-penny finishing nail.
Okay.
And the reason we use a finishing nail is because it has a small head, and a small head won't split the wood once you countersink it beyond the surface of the wood.
Okay, so this will not be visible once the door is finished.
The nail will be set below the surface, you'll spackle over it and paint it, and you won't see it.
Okay, great.
Next, you just want to go ahead and place your nail in here on the hinge side of the door, usually on the right side or wherever side that you want your door to open.
It's very critical to nail the hinge side of the door because that's the weight-bearing side of the door. And it also becomes critical to hit the 2 pieces of wood behind this trim because that holds the weight of the door also.
Now, is there any spacing, or do you just put them wherever you want to put them?
You want to place the nails every 8 inches from each other because if it's too close, the wood will split. And if it's too far away, it won't have enough support.
Okay, great.
So you just go ahead.
He's guessing about 8 inches. You don't have to measure.
Good.
And while you're nailing it up, you want to actually test the door a little bit to make sure there's no drag, to make sure the door is operating smoothly, because if you have to make an adjustment, it's much easier to do when the nails are not in the door.
Okay.
Okay. And just want to go
So
ahead.
you go 8 inches all the way around that.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Now, another important step is countersinking. Countersinking is setting the nail below the surface.
And why is that important? Why do you want to have the head of the nail below the surface of the wood?
You want to have the head below the surface of the wood because it gives more support to the frame behind the wood that you're nailing into.
Okay, now what about how it looks?
You want to sink these holes in because you don't want nails sticking out. This right here is a countersinker. You just want to go ahead and sink a finishing nail in. And once you do that, you can go ahead and fill these holes in with either spackle or wood shaving.
Or putty. And spackle actually works fine and it hides the nail head. You can wipe it off with your finger and ready for paint.
All right, so all the nails are in. They're all countersunk. Spackle's over. What's our next step?
Next step is go to the other side of the door and put the receiving jamb into the door frame.
All right, let's do it.
Okay.
Okay, so we're on the back side of the door now. We find Alex and a bunch of pieces of wood sticking out the back of the door. What is that all about? What are these things?
They're shims.
And what is a shim?
They're pieces that go in between the trim and the wall.
So these are shims, and where do I get them?
You can get them from your local hardware store.
Okay, and they come individually in a pack?
You can buy them individually or in a pack.
All right, great. So I have them now. What do I do with them?
You can go ahead and place them in the gaps in the door, like for instance right here. Go ahead.
Now, I notice that you have 6 sets. Do you need more? Do you need some across the top, or?
Yes, actually you do need some across the top to make sure it's secure.
And shims are kind of like nails. You want to place nails every 8 inches. You want to place the shims about every 8 inches as you need them. If you see a wider or a spot that's not 8 inches, you can go ahead and fill in as well. And once the shims are in place, you can begin to nail through the jamb into the shim to lock it in.
So what happens if you don't put the shims in, if I just put the trim and nail it in? What happens?
Devin, you want that?
If you just don't nail it in or just leave the trim in, it could fall out and you could lose support in the interior frame of your door.
Excellent. All right, shims are in place. They're nailed in. Now what, you can't leave them sticking out like this? So what do we do?
Before you chisel, you have to grab your 8-penny finishing nails, nail through the jamb into the shim and lock it in place. And then we can relieve the shim from the wood.
You want to hold the flat side against the trim.
And sometimes helping along, you can break the shim off where it has a dent in it. When you're shimming the door, make sure you're not nailing through this opening. You're nailing back here into the dense part of the wood. The nail will create a stop for the other jamb coming into the opening.
Okay. So, all the shims are in place. They're all nailed in and secure. What is our next step?
Our next step is to take these 3 edges of the finishing trim, place the finishing trim in these 3 edges in this slot.
Okay.
And the best way to do it is to start from the top and work your way down.
So I notice that they're lining that edge, and it's going right into the slot.
Exactly.
And
Doors-
then, oh,
If the door is
Look at
fitted
that.
properly, you tap it in a little bit, and it goes in. Fasten it with nails as you did the front side, 8 inches apart with finishing nails.
okay, so the door's in, it's secure. What's our next step?
Our next step is to install the privacy lock and the deadbolt. The privacy lock hole was already pre-drilled, but the deadbolt hole had to be drilled by Devin. So he just finished doing that.
Okay, now what's involved in drilling that hole?
This is the part of the process you have to take your time with and be really careful because you can mess up a very expensive door, but it still can be done. The first step is to lay out with the square the hole for the deadbolt. The deadbolt has a radius of 2 1/8 inches. Once you lay out for the square, you square across the edge of the door for the latch. When you're drilling with the hole saw into the door, take your time, hold it steady, and let the bit come through the other side. If you go too fast, you'll blow through the door and ruin the other side of the door. Once that drill bit pokes through, come to the other side of the door and drill inward until the hole is complete. For the latch drill with a 1-inch bit.
Now I noticed that there's some other work that might need to be done. What's the next step to finish the hole and the setup before the locks go in?
Good question. Next, we have to take a chisel and mortise out or chisel out for the latch that goes into the door. Usually the latches are set into the door 1/8 or 1/4 of an inch.
And you basically are trying to mimic what's on the lower lock, correct?
Exactly. You just set the latch in the door, trace around it, and take a chisel and take some of the wood out. It's pretty easy.
And that way it's nice and smooth across there?
Nice and flush, and it shuts without hitting the door molding or jamb.
All right, so Alex has finished chiseling. What's our next step?
The next step is to see if the latch fits properly. And you know you have it right when the latch turns easy.
Okay, both locks are in. They look great. What is our last step to finish up this project?
Well, the last step is you want to color in the deadbolt. You want to do it kind of dark so it'll show up. The point of this is to make an impression on the frame of the door when you close it.
Now, what is the purpose of having a mark on your door, on your frame?
So we can drill out the deadbolt latch on frame.
Okay.
For the striker plate, drill with a 3/4 inch bit.
All right, looks good. Let's see how well it works. Now, we did talk about this being an outside door. For security, you want the deadbolt.
Exactly. If this were an outside door, you'd have a privacy lock plus a deadbolt for extra security. Now, the idea is to have a key to like. If you buy them as a set, the keys will match, and you have one key for your deadbolt and your privacy lock throughout the house. Or you can just buy a privacy lock for interior doors.
Okay, perfect. Now, let's see how well it really works. Hey. All right, nice job, guys. Devin, thank you. Alex, pleasure. Mike, always.
Thank you.
So there you have it. Thanks for joining us for another episode of So Easy, a Kid Can Do It. Hold on a second. Did you say 18?
Yes, you did.
I thought it was 8.
It is 8.
Okay, it's 8 then.
Yeah, no, ain't coming out.
Got a nail about that big. We're gonna take it out. Yeah, let's get it going. All right. A railroad spike in this thing, never coming out.